Hey everybody, this is Dr. William Clark here for Leadership Conversations. This is the show where we talk about leadership according to the world that matters to you. And I am fresh off of a leadership conversation with my good friend Galen Bingham, which should be live right now on all platforms: YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as any of your podcasting platforms. But now I'm here with another leadership conversation with my friend Dr. Philip Foster. Philip, what is going on, sir?
Oh man, what isn't going on? We're just
Talk about it.
making business happen, right?
No, that's right. Talk about it, man. So, I mean, how are you feeling? How's life? How's the family?
Yeah, everything's going great. As was mentioned to you earlier, we had a wintry mix last night. I got a bunch of snow on the ground outside. That's why I'm bundled up in the fleece today, doing the Reebok thing. Or is it there? It
I'm
is.
I'm not mad at you, man. I wish I wish I could be bundled up too. I have a meeting I got to go to, so I wore like a collar, a collar shirt.
This is the struggle of working at home. Is what do you wear, right? And I love working from home, but anyhow.
Gosh. Well, we just figured that we were going to have a general conversation about starting a business. And I love that topic. But then you and I started talking in a pre-show about a platform that we both used, and that platform is Fiverr. And I figured, well, hey, why don't we just start recording and start talking about Fiverr? Because now that I see the connection here, Fiverr is definitely a platform that's connected to starting a business. But to kind of intro the thought, you mentioned you were going to hire some folks off of Fiverr to do some copy editing, and I said to you, yeah, that works. I've done it, and I've hired people to do that. I've hired people to do book covers, book format, layout, etc. And we were just talking about the podcast leadership conversations, and I'm exploring hiring somebody to do the intros, the outros, a commercial, um, perhaps in the middle or some point during the podcast. For those of you wondering what Fiverr is a gig website. You can hire folks to do almost anything to support your business and help your business. And in the context of what we're talking about today, this is important for you to consider hiring someone to help you with your business because um, you can't do it all on your own. You can't do it by yourself, and Fiverr is a platform. So we can pick up the conversation here, Philip. I mean, what are your additional thoughts about Fiverr?
Well, I'm going to preface this with I was in a session with my coach and mentor yesterday. And first of all, as a coach, I want to emphasize that it's important that coaches have coaches. The question is who coaches the coach, right? Um,
Right.
so I was in a session with my coach yesterday, and my coach, who is on the prophetic side of things, she's a believer and very prophetic. And she said, the problem is you have this area of expertise, and it's silly for you to go and have to learn everything that you need to do to run your business when you're so good at something else. And so that was kind of a smackdown type thing for me. But what she was saying to me was that I needed to get someone to do copyright for me for my website, for my sales, to help me get my messaging right, because that's not my forte. It needs to be my forte. I need to learn I need to be exposed to that. I need to get around that. I need to immerse myself in that. But right now, even as I'm bootstrapping parts of my business, I'm not good at that. And so the alternative is I don't have a lot of money because I am bootstrapping. For those of you who don't know what bootstrapping means, it's you're just you don't have a lot of money, and so you're doing the best you can with the resources you have, and that's just good business sense anyway. But so I can go to Fiverr and put a note out there saying, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to do some sales copyright for me." Uh, and let me just stop there. There is a difference between copyright, as in RIGHT, which is the thing that you do when you have a book, and then there's copyright, WRITE, which is someone who is writing copy for you to help funnel sales or a conversation or a thought in a very honed direction. And so there's two different types of things that we're talking about there. I'm talking about the WRITE, write, copyright, where I'm needing extra help. And so that's what I'm getting ready to do. I'm getting ready to look into that, find out what it would cost. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that'll do this because they're new, they're in the freelance world, they're doing, they're the gig economy, as you mentioned, and they're looking for work, and they're willing to introduce themselves and do some intro work for you for pennies on the dollar, basically. So you'll go out there and you'll find people say, for $25 I will do whatever. For $100 I'll do whatever. You fill in the blank. And so that's I'm getting ready to look at that and see if that's a viable option for me to get some copywriting done for my website.
Yeah, I think the bigger point you're driving home here is you can't do it all yourself, and I think your coach it reminded you of that, and I think that's a reminder we all need to have as leaders, that we're so busy doing what we're actually good at. We can get caught up in the minutia of little things that can drag us away from the core competency of our work. Something for those of you that have never considered the difficulty of updating your website, something as simple as adding a new sentence to your bio, adding a photo, that can become a multi hour experience for you because of perhaps the back end of your website, perhaps the complexity of the picture, the size, the pixelization. Maybe the back end of your website uses more coding than regular language, and how all that impacts um, making those updates, and that really can drag out just because you're so focused on updating that one little thing. You can spend time wasted doing that one little thing versus having someone who knows your system, your website like the back of their hand, make that updated change in a split second, all in exchange for 5, 10, $15. And if you look at it as something that costs you $15 and now I can't, go to McDonald's for the next 2 days, my friend, I would tell you that you're looking at your business the wrong way. Because if you had a full time staff paying thousands of dollars annually, plus benefits, plus overhead, plus supplies, you would then see the value of paying somebody $15, $20 to make a
It's
quick update to your
basically
website.
a week's worth of Starbucks right there.
Pretty
Pretty
much.
much.
Pretty
Pretty
much.
For
much.
some of us to go twice twice a day, it's half a week of Starbucks. But
It's true. And I think talking about it in those terms, Philip, just as your coach told you this yesterday, this is something I had to remind myself of in the past 2 weeks, that I don't have to do everything myself. As leadership professionals and specialists, we coach people on these things all the time within structured environments that have pre-existing teams, etc. Yet, when it comes to the entrepreneurial side, it's so easy to get sucked in to doing things yourself because, oh, I'll just figure it out. Oh, it's free. It's not free. That 2, 3 hours is lost where you could have generated sales, of X number of dollars to cover the cost of paying a website guy or a social media guy or a copy editor guy or gal, a book cover designer, a marketing person to do something for you that could have been done in a day's time where you could have been selling stuff.
let me take it. Let me go there with this. Um, you need to ask yourself, and you being understood that the listener needs to ask themselves, what is your hourly rate? Like if you're salaried, go figure out what you make in an hour if you don't know.
That's right.
That's right.
If you are the leader of an organization, you probably already know what you make an hour. I mean, or have an idea of what it is. I know what I make or charge an hour for my services. And the question is, should I be wasting an hour that I could be making that hourly rate? And let's say it's $500 an hour. Okay. So I'm wasting an hour. I'm in deficit $500, or I've spent $35 to have someone else go spend an hour doing it. the economies of scale, when you start thinking of it that way, I mean, it kind of dampers the whole idea of the Starbucks, a week of Starbucks. But the truth is, what are you worth? And that's the thing, is people lose sight of what they're worth. We need to know what our hourly rate is worth to us. And for me, and my coach is right, I need to pay someone $35 to do something so I can go make $500.
That's right.
That's right.
And the
And
truth is, that person who I paid $35, they're probably going to go spend 2 or 3 hours on it. So now I've just dropped $1,500 of wasted time. I've gained $1,500 rather.
That's an excellent segue. Let's talk about sales. I started to have this conversation yesterday with Galen, and we're going to revisit this conversation about sales. Um, when you talked about, the expense you incur uh, versus what you're able to earn, it really is correlated to sales. What are you working on these days to strengthen the sales figures, the moving of units with your business as it continues to develop and grow?
So interestingly that you bring that up, because I did a podcast this morning on Anchor about that. I spend about 20 minutes in the car every day coming back from dropping my kids off at school, and I do my podcast in the car. But I what am I doing? Well, I'm doing things like that. I'm doing podcasts. I'm doing videos of my own. I do every day. I do a Facebook Live on my Facebook page, and then I try to do a mini training where I jump on and I do like 15, 20 minutes of some training on something. Maybe it's something like this, like we're talking about sales. And so what I'm doing is I'm working on building relationships. And as I said in my podcast this morning, and I was referring to my mentoring coaching session that I had yesterday because it's so fresh, I'm just fresh out of it. They were talking about how we need to not be that guy or that gal. We need to be building relationships, not pimping ourselves out. And in sales, many times, especially this time of year, we're getting ready to go into the holiday season. It's the end of 2018. We're going into it, and people are getting desperate to meet numbers, to meet goals, to end out the year. A lot of people know that their business dies off for the next 30 days to 45 days before we go into the new year. For me, I start ramping up for the next year. That's another thing I'm doing. But people get desperate in their sales. And what my coach was talking about the other day is you got to do a video, a video, a video, a video, a video. And slowly, all these videos you're doing, you start getting interaction from them. And then all of a sudden, there's a little trickle, little trickle, little trickle. And all of a sudden, boom, things start happening and they start multiplying. And then you start getting sales from it. And they were talking about, my mentor was talking about how I paid for this, you're getting it for free listening to me. They were talking about how, when you look at infomercials, think of an infomercial. I'm sure you could think of one that you see on TV or hear on the radio. You can almost at some point finish the sentences or know what the jingle is. You hear the jingle, you know exactly what it is before they even get started. And what they said is that many times you need to hear that infomercial 5 to 6 times before you're pulling the credit card out. And so the same thing goes with sales, whether you're in for-profit or not-for-profit, and that is you need to keep that message consistent out there. You're building relationship. Like let me ask you a question, William. How many times do you do these videos? Do you do one a day, one a week? How often do you do these
I,
talks?
I do them in bunches, and I upload them um, when I'm finished with the editing and chopping, so they can take a couple minutes to record a video, but it can take a couple days to get the editing and uploading completed.
Putting them out there daily, or how are you doing that?
It depends on my schedule, and it depends on Um, if I get home and I'm uploading, but the kids are online as well, the speed of that, or if I'm doing it early morning while everybody's asleep, that can change things. So it depends. Sometimes it can be daily, several times a week. Yeah, yeah,
The point I'm getting at is you create this rhythm where
Right.
your
right.
followers, your fan base, your whoever, your potential customers and customers, um, they get used to that rhythm. Oh, here comes Dr. Clark. Here comes Dr. Foster. What are they? They're going live. What are they doing? And so they get into this pattern and this rhythm, and pretty soon they are in this relationship with you, even though you may not know who they are. And I'll just give you an example. My coach mentor that I'm working with, I actually followed this person on social media for years. And in the last, as you know, you've been following my journey. In the last year, I got really serious about building the next phase of my coaching business and taking it to a new level. And so part of that phase has been engaging this coach who I've been following for years now, and I have a kind of a relationship with in that regard that I know who they are, I know their personality, I know that I can relate to what they're talking about. And so sales is just like that. But if you get on there, and my coach said it this way, and again, I'm sorry if I go into a place where I offend anyone, but they said it's like going, if you're single and you go out to the nightclub and you see another single person that you're interested in, you're attracted to, and you go up to them and you try to close the sale right there. You're like, hey, let's go to my place and get it on, right? And that's what it's like. It's like, the first 30 seconds of you trying to sell me something, you're like, hey, get your credit card out, let me sell this to you. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know if you're marriage material and you're asking me to go home with you. I don't even know if my mom's going to like you, that type. So in sales, we have to look at it as a long-term relationship. And that's where I'm at now. And so I'm probably into a 3 to 6 month phase that I've got to go through. It's called long tail of sales. And then for some cases, it may take longer, but I'm building or I'm filling the funnel, the sales funnel. And, I know I'm talking about this in the context of business, but, and you and I have talked about this often. Everything I say for business, you can do in ministry, you can do in not for profit. If you're asking for donations for X cause or Y cause, what if I what if I'm not even an advocate for that and you're asking me for money? It's like, well, first of all, tell me what it is you're doing, tell me why you're doing it, who's it helping, how much do I need to give? There's these things I need to know before I even decide. Maybe I have this affinity for childhood diabetes or childhood cancer because of some family event that's happened. Well, I'm a natural to look for someone who is asking for money for that. But let's say, it's something else. I don't even know if I want or believe in your cause. You gotta build this relationship with me. The same goes whether it's for profit or not for profit. And honestly, the only difference between for profit and not for profit is a tax code. They're the same thing. Both need money to run. The only difference is how we define it in the tax code, how the government views a for profit as opposed to a not for profit.
Yep.
That's the only difference.
I agree with that. And you were talking about the sales funnel, creating that sales funnel that will get folks to hear about your product, engage with you, and ultimately end up purchasing something from you. How are you building your sales funnel at the moment?
Sorry, I had my mic muted. So, for me, the sales funnel is all about how do I build that relationship. I have been studying people that are doing this well because I believe that there's no need for me to reinvent the wheel. If someone's already doing this well, let me go look at what they're doing, not
Mm.
copy them, but emulate some of the things they're doing. I'm
Right.
not going to
Right.
photocopy them and make a duplicate because I'm me, I'm not them. But so what I'm doing is I'm figuring out ways to create relationship. The other thing is in sales, whether it be for profit or not for profit, it's what value are you giving the consumer? What is it I get out of buying your widget? What is it I get out of donating money to your cause? What is my value? And I have to have that built into my funnel. And so for me, it's been building that value through building relationship. So when I do my live videos on my Facebook page, when I do Facebook Live, I'm trying to give something to someone that they didn't have before, or in a new way they didn't think about. And sometimes it's not about providing new material, but reminding people of things they've forgotten. The human
Mm.
condition is that we leak, that we forget things. That's
Yeah.
why we need
Yeah.
to go back and read books, and that's why we need to go back and go to church on Sunday. It's not because we did the one and done, got dunked, and said we did, and now we love Jesus, and whatever. It's about we leak, we forget, and we need to keep going back. And so for me, building this relationship is many times about filling in the gaps for the human condition as well, reminding people of things they've forgotten, or they know but they just don't practice it.
Now, I want to jump on something
I
here.
want to jump on
You
something
said part
here.
of the sales
You
funnel you're
said part
creating,
of
and
the
I think
sales
this is
funnel
good.
you're creating, I
Good
think this is good,
regardless of
good
whatever model
regardless
you
of
use.
whatever model
Is
you use.
you focus on
Is
creating
you
relationship and
focus on
creating
creating
value.
relationship and
How are
creating
you creating
value.
relationship
How are
with
you
your
creating
audience,
relationship with
and
your
then how do you
audience,
determine the
and
value
how do you
you
determine the
contribute
value
to their
you
lives
contribute to
based
their
upon the
lives
relationship you
based
have?
upon the relationship you have?
Well, again, the struggle is this is a long tail. The long tail of marketing, and when you say long tail, it means it takes time. When you look at the infomercial market, we know it's 5 to 6 hits before they start thinking about buying your product or get motivated to be interested in your product. For me, how do I create that relationship is I have to do consistent videos every day. I'm going live. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going live every day at noon, but I go live every day and I do a video. And my videos are like 5 or 10 minutes long. They're not that long. And I just try to be myself. I started out where I'd have, you can't see it. I'm looking at my laptop right now and I've got, microphone and all this stuff built in here. But I used to have a piece of paper covering up the screen, and that was my notes. It was like my lines. Now, if you go back and look at some of those earlier videos where I'm doing lines, it's like, like very robotic, right? I know you're laughing because you've done it too, right? Right? Come on now. I've gone from preaching to meddling now. So what I do is to build relationship. Like William, you and I have known each other for a while. I don't know since 8 years. We've known each other about 9 years, 7 years,
Jeez.
7 or 8 years.
Wow.
Okay.
It's been that long. Yeah.
It's been that long.
So the fact of the matter is, if I walked up to you and I was like, "I'm a robot. How are you doing?" You would like, "What the deal? What is this guy? He's weird. He's wacko. Get away from me!" Right? In
Yeah.
fact, the first time we met, I think you came up to me and introduced yourself. Somehow you knew about me or something. I don't know. I don't know how that worked, but you introduced.
Yeah. Rumors spread about you pretty quickly
Rumors
at
spread about you
residency.
pretty
So I was like,
quickly
let
at
me meet this guy.
residency. So I was like, "Let me meet this guy."
Yeah, some of those rumors were over exaggerated, but anyhow. But the fact of the matter is, we built this relationship over the last 7-8 years, right? It doesn't mean we always agree with each other or whatever. You and I've had some really interesting hard conversations where we ask questions about things, and they're social issues. So I'm building this relationship with you that is like brotherhood. And I think we even call each other brother, right? Because we have this kinship. And that's what you want from your customers. Even if you're selling me a smartphone, I want to feel like you're not selling me the smartphone, but you're selling me a solution that will just help my day be better. If you just said, "Hey, buy this," say, "Okay, what is that? What does it do? Why do I care? I've already got one." But if you're not only just creating this relationship with me, but then you're saying, let me show you what I've done. In fact, a lot of the stuff I do, and I do it just off the cuff now. I don't have this, piece of paper up in front of me with my lines. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, let me tell you how I struggled. You're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're a startup. Let me tell you about my first business that was successful. And guess what? That overnight success took me 3 years. And let me tell you about the first year. Let me tell you about the 6 months. So now I'm like, not only just being friends, but I'm sharing with you a pain point.
Yeah.
And I'm drawing you in. You're like, man, I totally get it. That's me. Oh my gosh, this guy can help me. That's what I do.
Yeah, I wrote down a question. How do you connect with people and build a relationship with people online? And you just said it, just through honesty and transparency. When I think about the Leadership Conversations podcast, I had someone ask me the other day, where do I get the content from? Now, lately, I've recorded content based upon articles that I've read, and I've only uploaded one of those, conversations. More are coming. But outside of the articles that I'm responding to or providing commentary to, a lot of the content over the 100 plus shows that have been done this year, over the content that we've done together over the past 3 years, has been based upon personal experiences. And it changes the dynamic I have with my audience when I'm able to relate to something that they're going through by way of evaluating my own situation or my own circumstances or how I handled a particular situation. And I think that what you're talking about, just like with anybody who's trying to build a business that has an online presence or maybe just a face to face presence, if there isn't a level of transparency about what you're selling or what you're offering, there's a disconnect. Case in point, you go into a bakery. One of the things that have changed tremendously about bakeries over the past 10, 15 years is that you can go to a bakery and watch the process of how your baked goods are made. You can watch the workers, get the dough, knead it and spread it out and do what they got to do, mix everything, put it in the oven, pull it out, dress it, and put it up in the display window. And it's there because it's cool. It's cool to watch the people you admire show what the work looks like, because now I have an appreciation for what you're charging me for the product. Now it makes sense I'm paying $4.95 for this cupcake because of the work that goes in, the supplies, the staffing, the timing, the electricity, and I also enjoy the product much differently because I had a chance to look behind the scenes.
And, if I could just give away some of the behind the scenes, many of the times that you and I talk, and we've been doing this a little while, these are organic. Like you might say to me, hey man, you want to get on and let's do a podcast? And I'm like, sure. What do you want to talk about? Or you'll say, what do you want to talk about? And we just pull from whatever it is we're dealing with that day or that week. And the whole idea of this conversation today is born out of a couple of things that came out of our, banter before we went live.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
what it comes down to is when you have a customer that you're building a relationship with, you become you go to this place where you start doing life with them. Now,
Right.
they don't come over to your house and hang out with you, but for me, I want someone to feel like they just walked into my favorite coffee shop and saw me sitting there, and they walked over with their cup of coffee and sat down. We just had a conversation. And they're saying, hey, what do I do about my sales funnel? And we have this conversation. Let me tell you what happened to me in my first year. And I've been doing this 18 years. And I mean, I've been in the business world for 25 years. I have a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in there is something that's got to resonate with someone who is just starting out. If you're a 20-something entrepreneur and you're looking to build your business, let me help you. I mean, that's what I tell them.
Yeah.
Why are you going to go find another 20-something that it has as much experience as you do? Go find someone who is not just fallen down and scraped their knee. Find someone that fell down the stairs and broke every bone in their body and got up and did it more, finished it, won the prize. Why not do someone, find someone that just totally their life blew up like mine. A few years ago, 2006, my life blew up. And I was standing on the rubble of what was left of my life and my business. And I looked around and I'm like, well, I could either give up, give in, or get going. Right. And
Yeah.
so I had to make a choice.
Yep.
Why not find someone who is who can speak your language, um, go to the depths of your pain, and walk that through with you. That's sales right there. Selling is not buy this tube of chapstick. No, that's not sales.
Hmm.
Sales is, man,
Mhm.
why, your lips are bleeding. Let me help you. Here, have this. This will help you. That's sales.
Yeah.
That's relationship sales. I'm telling you, the 21st century is putting everything upside down from what we knew. Everything is going upside down.
Man, when you talk about the relationship element of sales and the importance of expressing that relationship with your audience, one of the things Galen and I were talking about during our conversation was, monetizing the opportunities you get when you're speaking, presenting, consulting, and coaching. And there are times where you're dealing with an audience that cannot afford your traditional speaking fees. So someone like you and I, due to experience credentials, would charge X number of dollars to do a keynote or to spend a day with us to pick our brain about strategy, leadership, etc. And in some cases, that is not affordable. The question that we as business owners still have to answer is when you find those moments where people cannot afford to purchase your services traditionally, how do you monetize that? And what I'm hearing you say is that it begins and ends with the relationship. Now there are some tactics that can be deployed to get us to that point where we know how to recoup dollars the day of an event, etc. And maybe we could just talk about it here, but they have to be deployed. So one of the tactics we were talking about with Galen, and be interested to get your feedback on this. He was sharing that there are some audiences that can't afford his fee, and so he was talking about the importance of having your products ready at the end of the event, making sure they are conveniently packaged and ready to go, having your sales machine or your sales platform ready to register all of the transactions that will come. He also talked about when you're doing an engagement and having people him disciplining himself, and I'm gonna take put myself in there too, to have people record their testimonies, because afterwards people always come up to you and say, "Man, that was powerful. That really hit a note with me." And it was funny. He said, "Well, wait a minute. How about rewind that? Let me record that, and then let's post that." The other thing is having people live tweet you a live post, or get on social media live real time while you're talking, to tweet at you what you just said, something that really resonated, or even sharing with folks images, photos, videos of the speech that's being given, and how that, as you talked about, continues to build that sales funnel of connection to an audience you never had access to. And this speaks to, Philip, the mistake we make, just general we, as business owners, where we're not prepared. We don't have our products developed. We don't have our products prepared, and we don't have sales goals in mind. How is it possible as a professional speaker, trainer, consultant, that you go to an event or an engagement and you don't have a case of books, uh, preloaded trainings on jump drives to sell to folks, or access cards with access codes on there for people to access training that you've made available for them? How is it possible that you don't have that stuff prepared? This gets down to the preparation process of sales as well. Because at the end of the event, Philip, as you said, after I've offered to help you with this widget, hey, this instrument can help you document the notes that you have in your head. What good is it to not have it available in exchange for a fee, right? And let me just go biblical for a moment. And this is bear with me. In James 2, he talks about faith without works is dead. And James says, how is it possible that you can see a homeless person, a person who's hungry, a person who's without, and say, be filled? God will meet your need. When in fact, the person who's saying be filled has the capacity and resources to fill that belly, to put a coat on that shoulder, or to provide shelter. It's incredibly selfish to say God will take care of it when there's enough God in you to provide the need of the person who's struggling. In sales and in business, it's incredibly disingenuous to your business, to your customers, to you, to say, hey, um, go ahead and take notes and not provide the right instrument for them to do that. You have to be responsive to the needs of the people. And as James tied it together, if you believe that you have a wonderful widget or instrument that's worth utilizing, then practice that type of faith by your action. And the action we're talking about is
Yeah, I think that
sales.
using this speaker analogy, first of all, it's extremely short-sighted to go to a speaking event where you're a keynote or you're the headliner or something, and not have a takeaway of some sort.
Yes.
And that's a rookie mistake, really, at that point. But you know,
And let me just say, I'm guilty of that, just like others are. I mean, it happens.
I think that we have to change the way we look at things. For example, you go to speak somewhere. Why are you going to speak? What is the reason you're really there to speak? Are you there to impart some sort of information, or are you there to create the process of the relationship?
Right.
And the first one, I'm there to impart information, is the one that is a deal or a sales killer, because they're there to collect their fee, tell the audience something, and then leave. If you're there to impart information to build relationship, then you have a what next. And that
Mm.
what next could be a book sitting out
Mm.
on a table. It could be, let me give you a link so you can download my podcast. Let me give you a link so you can download this free PDF that I've got. I was there's a guy that I follow, and his name is Russell Brunson, and he does ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is a software that I don't make any money off of saying this, but it's a software that helps you move someone from prospect into a sale. And
Mhm.
anyhow, ClickFunnels, he went to this event and he was speaking at this event, and he had a goal to sell $1 million worth of services at the end of that. And so they went through this whole elaborate process. He had an envelope that was sealed, and it had on it, "Do not open this until Russell tells you to." And I mean, it had ClickFunnels in it. So when you open it up, there was all this cool stuff in it, but there was also a form in there where you could sign up for ClickFunnels. So anyhow, the whole story in this was that when he was done, he said, "Now open up your envelopes," and he started talking about these little tchotchke things that they gave away, like stickers and different. Like he said, "Now pull out the form." He said, and then it was like an ask. He had the ask ready. He said, "You have to go um, out to this table and sign, turn this in." He sold in an hour, 1 hour. He sold $3 million worth of services for giving a 45-minute speech. He got paid for doing the
Mm.
speech, and then he did the ask, and he made $3 million. Now, the way most people don't know how these conferences work if you sell something, you have to split your bank 50-50 with the with the
The
promoters,
house.
the
Yeah.
house, right?
The house.
So he had to
Yeah.
split that $3 million with the house. He still made $1.5 million for giving a 45-minute speech. So now you could say that Russell Brunson, his speaking fee is $1 million for a 45-minute, for an hour worth of speaking. Okay, so why are you there? Why are you there doing that? Are you there to impart information and leave? Or are you there because you're trying to create a relationship? Now, Russell obviously had a big following before he made those sales because people knew who he was, but he was able to move them to the sale because he's already had that relationship with them, right? And then once that sale is made, guess what? The relationship keeps going and keeps building, and it's a new layer of it, and you enter into a new funnel. And my mentor calls it offering a second glass. It's a kind of an old bartender thing, but you could use it offering you a second cup of coffee. You know, once you're in the funnel, once you're a customer and you have this relationship with me, now I can come along and say, hey, by the way, next month I'm doing a 1 hour webinar on XYZ, and it's only $47. You'll want to get on now because I'm going to raise that price a week after we launch, the a week before the webinar we're going to launch it. It's going to double. So we're going to be $98. So you need to get in on this. So now I'm offering them a second class. And because I have this relationship and they're following me and they're buying into what I'm saying and they want what I've got and they know I'm giving them value, now they come back for that second class and the third
Man.
class. And for me, to go back to answering your question, what do you do with the people who can't afford me? Well, I start out with the free content. Then go to my Facebook page, watch my free content. They can go to my website and join my free member section. It's free. I don't ask for anything but their email address. And then I use that email address to occasionally send out an email saying, hey, this is what's going on. I really appreciate you. This is a new sale. This is a new offer. Because at some point, they're going to be able to afford the entry level, whatever it is. And then I have a second layer, which is a monthly deal, which is a group coaching and mentoring and free trainings and videos that are long form, like 45 minutes to an hour, and webinars and all that for a couple $100. But if you really want the cream, you either become my private customer where I work with you on an hourly rate, or you join my VIP mastermind, which is couple $1,000s a month for a year commitment. So I have these layers. And I would say if you're doing sales, you should have an entry place where you can start to have that conversation. Hey, friend, come over and have a cup of coffee with me. And then it's like, this coffee's great, but I really need some help. Okay. Let's go have a steak dinner. Okay, have a steak dinner. Next thing, it's like, this steak dinner's great, but I need something more. It's like, you know what? What we need to do is we need to go to a week-long retreat in the Fiji Islands.
Yeah.
Now it's going to cost you, right?
Yeah.
And so you have layers. And in between all those layers, you keep offering them little nuggets, little pieces, $40, $50, $100 to do a webinar, to get material. And listen, you can do this in the not-for-profit world. This works in the not-for-profit world. My wife was telling me last night that someone came to her. She works for a church, and they were like, "Hey, we want to hire you to come teach us how to do something." And she's like, "I don't even know what to charge." And I said, "Well, what is everyone else charging?" She said, "Well, they're charging this, and this." I said, "Well, then that's where you start. And when you build a name for yourself, then you can ask for more." And that's even in the not-for-profit world. You're talking about thousands of dollars a day to go consult with a church on how to do something.
Right.
And in her area, the area of expertise is children's ministry.
So you got on something. I was listening to a podcast last week with Seth Godin, and he was talking about, in terms of marketing, that instead of trying to market to an endless pool of people that may not have expressed interest in you, how about you market to the people who voluntarily said, I want to be in relationship with you. And he went on to talk about that Facebook and other social media platforms have created this barrier between us and our customers, a perceived barrier. And he gave the example, so you post something on your business page on Facebook, let's say 30 people click on it, and Facebook sends you a message to say, hey, you can engage 1,700 people or 10,000 people if you pay 20 bucks, right? Or 30 bucks. And he said, really, if out of the thousands of friends you have, and if they didn't want to click on it, why would you pay 20 bucks to try to force them to click on something instead of targeting the 30 people who say, yeah, I'm really feeling that, or I'm really into that? And it doesn't mean that you don't consider those marketing opportunities, because there are times when you do a sponsorship ad and you get more relevant engagements from people, but you have to determine if there's real value in it. And so I thought that was really interesting when Seth was talking about that. But let me ask you this question, especially since we're in the vein of talking about speeches and live events, etc. What's your thoughts on digital project products versus physical products at a live event where you're present? Do you bring a mixture of both? Do you prefer one or the other because of cost and ease of download? I mean, what's your preference?
My preference is the digital side. And here's the reason why. And this comes from a lot of wisdom of being coached and mentored myself, and seeing the value in it. Um, it's very time consuming and cost inefficient to do a live event. Where when I say live event, I mean you have a physical stage in a room, in a ballroom somewhere, in a convention center or whatever. You've got to rent the room. You've got to sell tickets. It's an enormous amount of work, and then you've got to have AV there, and that costs money. So it's very expensive sometimes, and very time consuming to plan it out. And you have to have a team, and you have to have the table set up, and to sell product. So there's an enormous amount of work to be done to run a live event, or even attend an event as a speaker, because you still have to do some of that work. And then you have to prep the slides, which I hate, PowerPoint slides and all of that. The reason why I like digital is for several reasons. One, um, the scaling side of it. I can do one video event for an hour, record it just like we're recording this event right here, and then repackage it. I can sell it for 20 bucks. You know, people can watch it on demand, pay 20 bucks to watch it again. So now I'm able to repackage my material. Or I can sell it as part of my my master academy, where they come in and it's 250 bucks a month for them to have access to me and a mastermind, and then have all these videos that they can get access to for 250 a month. I just stick it in the vault there so they can go watch it. So now that's part of the package that they get. The other thing about digital is, um, I can do one event. I plan it out. Obviously, I do it at my desk here. Plan it out, and I do the event for an hour, and I can resell that over and over and over again. And that means that I'm not working harder; I'm working smarter. It's called leveraging the digital, so that you're working less hours but making more money. And that's why I like the digital side of it. That's why I'm moving toward digital seminars and things, so that my customers can get the value of what I'm talking about, get access to me through those videos. I can train them in stuff they need to know, and then they save the important questions for the live sessions that we have, where they need to ask Q&A and say, I need to know how to do something. So now we target in on specifics, rather than going down this meandering road and they don't know. And then so now we get to have really meaningful conversations. That's why I like the digital, because I
So
get
let
to leverage.
Let me be more specific. So, as a speaker, let's go back to the scenario we started talking about. As a speaker, you are attending an event and they can't afford your typical fee, and you have a product table. Are you saying that you prefer digital products? So, for example, for those of you who are watching, a digital product would be something like this at the table, right? And within it, and this is just a notepad, but it's a brochure, but in it would be the download code to the products you made available for this event, right? Are you saying that it's much easier and cheaper to produce this with the product code on the interior? Sell You're not selling this, but you're selling the link to the information, as opposed to physically bringing several books, several CDs, several jump drives, etc. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. I would dare say that 99.999 into infinity percent of the people that are listening to this, the sound of my voice now and into the future, have a microwave oven. And we stand in front of that microwave oven for 1 minute and think it's taking too long. Okay. We're an instant focused society. And I would say that if I was standing on a stage and I said, text this code 5557 and put in the word give me, I will send you my free blah, 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 blah. Hear me. I have not only given them something instantly, but I've instantly captured a way to communicate with them. Same thing with an email. If I say, send me your email address, or put your email in here and I'll give you this free 10-step template PDF on how to make millions for the rest of your life. Somebody's going to give me their email for that instantly. And I'll just give you an example. I just recently joined a mastermind that I've been wanting to join for a while. And I paid the fee, and they were having a technical difficulty. Now, I was only down 24 hours. Okay, I'd already paid the fee, and I couldn't get into certain pieces of the platform because they were working the deal out. And I did this over Thanksgiving holiday because they were on vacation or break or whatever. So me, Mr. Instant, I need it now. I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I want to get this. I want to get this. I want to get this. I don't want to stand in line for anything. And I'm not saying that there isn't value in a physical book because you know me. I mean, you've known me a while. I have 4 books. You've got many books. You got far more books than I do. So yes, books are part of our sales culture that we need to propagate information out there. But if as the end consumer, if you gave me a choice between standing in a line and getting an instant ebook of that same thing, I might choose the ebook over the line 90% of the time. Now, if it's a book that I just absolutely had to have, I might stand in the line. But even books now, I'm less and less inclined to, I'll go order it on Amazon and wait for my Amazon Prime to kick in. I'll have it in 2 days if I have to have the book.
So just to put a button on this, you're saying that post speech, you would go to your product table, and you're saying that you much rather would sell a piece of paper with a downloadable product than have a box full of physical books.
When was the last time you went to a conference, which I know was recently, right? And you're traveling in an airplane. Now, if you've been to any significant conference where you go to the event room where all the vendors are, and they have these stupid bags that you fill crap in there, right? And there's people giving away their books. How many times do you come home with a stack of books?
Yeah. Bro, we got 2 free books from that trip in Charlotte, and these books were easily each this thick.
You're proving
And
my
so it
point
created bulk in my
that
bag.
if you're going to a big conference to speak where there's multiple speakers, multiple things going on, maybe it's a week-long event, there are people already weighed down with other stuff.
Gotcha.
And here's the thing, and then this is long tail thinking right here. If you're able to say from the platform, if you will text me your email address, we will email you instantly this book in PDF format or ebook format. Or we will we will send you for free this template that I was just talking about, how to do this, whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, if you do that at the end of your presentation, you've done two things. You have you've instantly captured a way to communicate with that people that are interested in what you have. Instantly you have their information, which is golden, because that is the starting line for building relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You've already told them about the race because you were talking about it. Now you ask them, hey, if you're interested in what I've got, text me your email address and we will instantly send you these 5 keys, these 10 whatever, this ebook. We'll send it to you today. And we'll also include in that, we'll tell you how to get in touch with us. And it might be a Facebook link or your YouTube channel or whatever it is that you're doing, but you've captured a way to communicate with them. And that is considered an opt-in at that point. And they can choose to opt out later. And many people will opt out after giving the freebie, but you've created knowledge of you and what you have to offer by giving them that freebie, or that freemium is what we call it. But the other thing is you have to do that at the end of the presentation, because if you do it at the beginning of the presentation, you've lost half the audience. They're sitting there texting and then they get, oh, squirrel, and then they're off on Facebook and they're doing other things. But if you do that at the very end, you've captured information. And peer pressure also kicks in, because some people are like, well, my friend next to me is doing it, maybe I ought to do it. And they
Now,
get,
how do you? So I agree with you at the end. I get it. How do you transition from that freemium to, hey, come to pass the product table and get a bundle of stuff for X number of dollars? How do you make that transition?
well, for me, it's all done digitally. So I would include in whatever digital thing I send them, here's my catalog, or here's my sales page, or here's, maybe you have a sales page set up on your website that they can get bundled, everything that you just talked about, everything that's in your library of offerings, they can get for one flat fee. And if they want a hard copy of it, we'll ship it to them for $19.95 or whatever the shipping is for all those books. But if they want it in digital form, we'll give them a special conference discount of 50% off. So if you have $150 worth of books and you sell it to them for digitally for $75, that is 100% profit for you. Whereas if you do the print book, and because you do print, I do print, that 60% of the sale price for a book goes back to the publisher, goes back to the printing house. You only keep like 40% if you're lucky. And if you're with a publisher, you keep like 10%.
But so I'm trying to get to something very specific, right? You and I have established that at the product table, no physical
Product table.
No, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't even have a
Because
product table.
I don't want people standing in line. Now, if I was trying to build a relationship, I might have a product table for this one reason. Hey, if you come over and get a selfie with me and you blast it out, with a hashtag, I'll give you 10% off, but you have to come to the info table for that.
Well, that's cool.
And what I'm doing is I'm creating buzz around what I'm doing.
But remember, the product table that I was introducing was about the sale of this piece of paper, right? So I agree with you about the autoresponder link to products, the bundle. But don't you think that while cheaper than a book, this physical product serves as a reminder to, hey, come over to the table. At least you're walking away with something, knowing that you paid for access immediately.
If I was a keynote, or or I had, I was maybe not the keynote, but a big speaker. I was one of the panel speakers that was, their picture was on the brochures and the banners and everything. I would ask that that brochure that you're holding up or some giveaway takeaway be placed in either the bag for that day or on their chair.
Okay, and during the speech, hey, just as a call to action, hey, pull out this red brochure if you want to order something.
And
Okay.
I go back to the Russell Brunson example I gave. He actually had an envelope that was sealed and it said don't open until whatever. But he actually did have an info table because he did exactly what I said. He said, "Hey, come get a selfie with me and, send it out and we'll whatever." So he was creating buzz, he's creating relationship, he's doing all this stuff and he's kind of a rock star in the sales world right now with sales funnels. And so ClickFunnel is his deal. And so people want pictures with him. So he's leveraging that desire to want to have that connectivity, and he's using it in a unique way. But by saying, "Hey, if you will hashtag whatever out, we'll send you 10% off on this order or this bundle or this." So there's some sort of momentum being created. So for me, first of all, if you have a table set up, that means you have to have some sort of staff. If you're not traveling with staff, that means you have to pay the event organizers to staff it. And let's face it, they're usually staffing it with college students that are doing it for an internship. So they're doing it for free, and I'm paying the event staff to have someone at that table, right? And they're swiping credit cards and they're doing so all of that is out of my hands. I have no control over the sales. I have no control over any of that. It's not going through my processing. It's not going through my shopping cart. Nothing doesn't go through my website. I don't get to capture their information right off. And so for me, I prefer not to do a sales a table if I could get away with it. It's just a lot of logistics that I don't need. Keep it simple is the way I look at it. We're in a digital world. We're in the 21st century. There are unique ways to do this. And the whole idea is how do you capture those people in such a way that you funnel them toward building this relationship? If it's a need they need to carry something away with them, put it in their chair, put it in the giveaway bag for the day or the weekend, or when they check in as part of the packet, they get that thing so that they already have it somehow and they're reminded of it from the platform and they're given other options to access it because maybe they threw it away or maybe they got lost. Well, that's okay, you can still get it here. Text me at 5557, give it to me, whatever. And now you've got them captured. The whole idea is how do you get a hold of people's information to invite them into a relationship with you that's ongoing. And the only way you do that is to have a way to communicate with them long term. That means you've got to have their email address or their Facebook page or their text number or whatever. I don't know what it is. But for me, it's drawing them toward like my Facebook page so that I can have this ongoing conversation with them.
I hear you. And I guess I'm pausing, just because I'm processing, the reality of what you're sharing and how folks can operationalize what you're talking about. And I would say to the audience who's watching that the general principles that Philip is sharing is true. And if even if you feel like you can do it differently than what me and Philip are talking about, what we're saying is this is not the only way to do it. This is a way to do it, and there are variations of how this could be deployed. At the end of the day, we're talking about sales. We're talking about moving units. We're talking about meeting a sales goal. We're talking about meeting a financial goal at the end of a session, a speech, a meeting, a conference, etc. And I am a big fan of not printing and wasting trees. I'm very much digital. I am aware, however, that there are some people who are very much still tied to physical products. And if you're one of those people, you may consider doing a mixture of physical books and digital books. But I will tell you from experience, uh, sometimes books don't get here in time. If you don't order at the right time, depending on when you're invited, it may be easier to produce a pamphlet type thing that you're going to pass out during the speech at some point, or perhaps the autoresponder system that Philip talked about. All of those things play a role into sales that happen real time, shortly after the event and after the event long term.
I think the key to this is know your audience at the end of the day. The
Mm-hmm.
audiences that I tend to communicate with these days, um, they don't want to carry a bunch of stuff around with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to be bogged down with that. They want access. They want it. They need it. It's like, give it to me as quickly as possible with as few hoops as possible. And the other thing is, if you're giving a talk at 11 o'clock in the morning and it's an hour long talk, I can guarantee you're going to lose a huge audience because they're going to want to go to lunch. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as those doors spring open, you've lost them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that means you've got to have the table there all week to capture the people that, at least capture a quarter of the people you lost because
Yeah.
they wanted to go get some lunch.
Or you can have it set up, and let's just give an example, Philip. You can have it set up where you can have uh, your product prepaid for. So you talked about having the pamphlet already at the table or inside the giveaway bag. This could be prepaid for at a special price. And it depending on how you structure it, in some cases you may just have that may just be your fee, or you may have this prepaid for plus your fee. Another way of thinking about it, and in my world, the nonprofit world, that someone can do it, is you can after your talk cut it as you said, Philip. If you have an hour, cut it short to 40 minutes. Spend the remaining 20 minutes or remaining 15 or 10 minutes selling this, but letting people know that hey, I need you to buy this now. And here's the reason why. If you enjoyed what you heard, there's more of it here. However, I am guaranteeing a percentage of sales will go to the event today or go to the cause that we're talking about today. If you believe in this cause, and I believe you do, and if you believe in the team that's running this project, and I believe you do, then let's support them. Let's take a few moments right now, pull out your cell phones, text or email so and so, or go on this website here, and let's support this nonprofit right now. And you can walk them through it, give them a few moments to purchase this one single product, right? And this goes back to what I talked about earlier, product prep. Even in a digital sense, having your URL already set or having the page already set to just one product. And the question you may be asking me is, well, what about the rest of my products? Right now, in that 10-minute span where you're trying to capture money, trying to capture attention, focus on that one product. When they purchase, there's an automatic thank you email that should go out to everyone with the email address and a cell phone number. Text them, text them thank you, and text them the link to the full portfolio or library of products you have available then. And then, as Philip talked about, this is where the sales funnel continues because not only have you made your fee or made above your fee, not only have you supported the cause if it's a nonprofit, not only have you captured information, you have done all those things to build the sales funnel long term for people who really, really enjoyed your talk, who really, really is going to enjoy your product, your book, your training, etc. And
And
so
I've
you've
actually
done all those things
seen
in one shot.
speakers do something like this toward the end of their presentation. Say, okay, get your smartphones out or get your tablet computer out
Mm-hmm.
and go to facebook.com/ blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone there now? Click the like button.
That too. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, now that you've got your tablet out or your
That too.
phone out,
Oh yeah.
go over here, click this, and send your email. And I'm going to email you a special link. By the magic of me standing here, I'm going to email you this special link. It's all autoresponders. You need tech to help you do this. If you will put your email in over here, we're going to now that you've liked this, put in your email. We're going to send you a special link where you can get access to everything I talked about today for 75% off. Just send your email. Now, the reason why I don't lead with buy is because I'm trying to get them to like my Facebook page, so they're following me. So now they get alerts when I do a video,
Mm-hmm.
and I capture their email address. so that I can send them this link. They've given me permission to send them information, so they've opted in. So they get the link to that, but it also allows me to follow up with them and say, "Hey, you had said you were interested in this. This special rate is only good for the next 48 hours, or it'll end when the conference ends. So don't miss this
Right.
opportunity." And then a day later, if they haven't acted, you say, "I just want to let you know we only have 12 more hours left for this special rate. It'll go away tomorrow." So when they sent, they get a hold of me a week later, it's like, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, it's back to the normal rate. But you know what? Because I really believe in what I have here, let's just give it to you for 50% off. It won't be 75% off, but I'll give it for 50." You're still making the sale because it's digital. It's still 100% profit.
Right.
See, people don't think this way. Business owners
Right.
are not thinking this way. And I'm gonna just preface this, and you've known me a while. I am not a salesperson. You might think I am based on all the stuff I'm telling you. I'm telling you this stuff because I've been immersed and coached and mentored by really good salespeople that have led me to understand the human psychology of sales to a point where I'm doing things that make sense and they're meeting a need and I'm adding value and I'm making sales.
Yep.
I will say this: what Philip shared can seem a bit overwhelming, but let me encourage you guys out there. Just as you write out your speech, you write out your presentation, your talk, I'm going to challenge you guys to write out and script out this entire process for your next event. Before your opening line of, "Hello, my name is so and so," you need to have lines, bullets, reminders, a script in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of your speech to walk through how you're going to do these things that you deem relevant to your next event. Whether it's the liking of a social media page, whether it's the auto texting, whether it's live tweeting or in the middle of a speech and saying, "Hey, I think this is a tweetable moment. Take your phones out." Or, "Hey, I think this is a recordable moment. Record this and share it on your on your social media page." Having intentional moments to let the depth of your information sit with people and giving them a chance to break up the monotony of the information you're sharing, to do something fun and different, and then to get back to the speech, and then to close with perhaps a ask. You need to script it out. If you think that is going to be an automatic process, I think that it becomes a more automatic, Philip, as you talked about, organic as you do it more often. But if you're new to it, if you're testing it out, it's healthy to write out the script for what you're going to do and how you're going to do it so that it doesn't feel weird to you. And if it doesn't work, by all means, tweak it. Don't be scared, don't be nervous. This is Sales is about trial and error, I would say. It's about figuring out what your audience actually wants and being responsive to the needs of your audience. You can't be scared because you never tried it before. This was great. Um we actually talked about business and sales today, man. And I think there's so much more to talk about. Um but I do want to recap some of the earlier thoughts I wrote down when we opened this up. You don't have to do all this stuff yourself. If you're going to do a pamphlet that you're going to pre-sell, hand out, sell, post event, you can get this designed uh, through Fiverr, if you will, or some other platform or gig platform that makes sense. You don't got to sit down and design a color scheme. Philip, I have gotten PowerPoints designed for me, and what I've done is I would write the PowerPoint out in bulleted form in Word. I will properly label or bold the slides with the header, and I would send that entire outline to whoever's going to design the PowerPoint because all they need is the content and the keywords I want on the PowerPoint page or pages. And I would indicate, hey, find a relevant image for this word or make this a chart. It's a script. And because of the script, I get back what I have found to get back from Fiverr, some pretty good quality and creative PowerPoints that still are relevant for business, not too gaudy, not too weird. But the script was important, and it goes back to you don't have to do it yourself. The rack cards or the pamphlets, you don't have to do it yourself. The business cards, you don't have to do it yourself. Perhaps you want to hand out a little card with all your social media links. Hire somebody on Fiverr to crop your picture appropriately. Put all the social media links that so that the resolution is the best it could be. So when you print it through a service like Staples or UPS or Vistaprint, it comes out great. You don't have to do it yourself. Or what about setting up the one pager for the event, or the funnel page for the event, or the autoresponder for the event, or getting people to like your page through social media? You don't have to do it yourself. This goes also to the next point of creating teams and building teams, and then focusing on your competency. Any last thoughts, Philip? You want to share?
No, I would say, you know, I've been building my Instagram audience, and I've been using an outside company to help me with that, and I've had enormous success with that. And so I think there's great value in finding people that are doing something you're not entirely great at, or don't know how to do, or you don't have time to figure out, and go find them. And I would say, whether it's me or William or someone else, I would say find yourself a coach, a mentor, someone, even if you're not paying them, find their videos, find their podcasts, and start consuming their material. Um, Not to blindly follow them or anything like that, but so that you can fill your head with information that's useful to you. And I've been a coach now for almost 15 years, and I have believed in coaching and mentoring for my 25-year career and before.
Hmm.
And so I'm an advocate for that, not just because I am a professional coach, but because I believe in it, because it works for me. And so I
Yeah.
would say find yourself a coach, find yourself a mentor or a coach mentor, find yourself a mastermind, get involved with them, and grow yourself. You must grow yourself every day.
Yeah. Where can people find you on social media?
The best thing to do is just go to my website at maximumchange.com. And up in the right hand corner is all of my social media links, including my podcast. So you can go to maximumchange.com and you can find me there.
Awesome. So this is Dr. William Clark for the Success Coach, Dr. Philip Foster. This is Leadership Conversations, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Awesome.
Thank you, friend.